United Kingdom will deploy its new aircraft carrier, loaded with 2 squadrons of F-35 aircraft into the politically fraught South China Sea. British Defence Minister Gavin Williamson confirmed in a speech that the Royal Navy's HMS Queen Elizabeth will sail into waters that are the subject of dispute between China and other nations. At an address given to the Royal United Services Institute, RUSI, in London, Williamson said Britain was the second largest investor in the region and it must display hard power and lethality to help protect interests. The £3 billion, $3.9 billion, carrier's outing will also sail into the Middle East and Mediterranean and will be officially a mixed UK-US deployment. Significantly, British and American F-35s will be embedded in the carrier's air wing, enhancing the reach and lethality of our forces, reinforcing the fact that the United States remains the very closest of partners, Williamson said. The UK Defence Minister did not confirm exact dates for the mission. China has laid claim to almost all of the strategic South China Sea, which is viewed as important for shipping lanes and potential resources. United States destroyers USS Spruance and USS Preble sailed close to the Spratly Islands, territory disputed by China and the Philippines. China claimed that the ships entered without official permission, but a spokesman for the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet told CNN that the operation was to challenge excessive maritime claims and preserve access to the waterways as governed by international law. China is in the process of developing its own aircraft carrier capability, with currently only one considered combat-ready. According to the International Institute for Strategic Studies, IISS, the country could have as many as 6 carriers by the 2030s. U.S. Air Force B-52H Stratofortress bombers flew over the South and East China Seas. China has previously bristled at U.S. bomber flights in the region, calling them provocative. Beijing has lashed out multiple times in recent months over U.S. freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait transits conducted by the U.S. Navy. 2 B-52H Stratofortress bombers took off from Andersen Air Force Base Guam, and participated in routine training missions. U.S. Pacific Affairs told ABC News, explaining that while one bomber conducted training in the vicinity of the South China Sea, the other trained near Japan in cooperation with the U.S. Navy and Japanese forces. Online flight tracking data for the flights indicates that one flew near the Philippines while the other conducted operations around Japan. The last time the U.S. Air Force sent bombers through the South China Sea was in November. The U.S. repeatedly sent bombers through the area last year. The B-52 bombers stationed in Guam are there in support of the U.S. Air Force's Continuous Bomber Presence (CBP) mission intended to deter any country with adversarial intentions. Bomber flights over the South and East China Seas are perceived as challenges to China, which has attempted to assert its dominance over the strategic waterways. The U.S. has, in the past, sent bombers to Korea in a show of force to the north in the wake of hostile actions. As it does with U.S. Navy freedom of navigation operations, Beijing has previously criticized U.S. bomber flights over the South and East China Seas, calling them provocative. The U.S. has conducted 2 freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea this year, and the U.S. Navy has also twice sent U.S. warships through the Taiwan Strait. In response, China has issued warnings, urging to steer clear of these areas, and even flexed its muscles by showing off its anti-ship weaponry, such as the carrier-killer DF-26 intermediate-range ballistic missile. B-52 bombers are high-flying heavily armed aircraft. Some are nuclear-capable bombers, while others have been denuclearized. It is unclear whether the B-52 bombers flying above contested waterways are nuclear-capable aircraft. In a first, U.S. F-35Bs dropped guided bombs on practice targets during a military exercise at sea in Asia this week. F-35B fighters, the U.S. Marine Corps short takeoff and vertical landing variant of the supersonic 5th-generation F-35B Lightning II Joint Strike Fighter, conducted bomb drops from the Wasp-class amphibious assault ship USS Wasp, LHD-1, in the Philippine and East China Seas this week, according to a statement by the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. The aircraft, armed with Cat-9X air-to-air missiles, dropped laser-guided bomb units, GBU-12 Paveway and satellite-guided GBU-32s. The GBU-12 and GBU-32 are general-purpose bombs weighing 510 pounds, 230 kilograms, and 1,013 pounds, 460 kilograms, respectively. We conducted these missions by launching from the USS Wasp, engaging role-player adversary aircraft, striking simulated targets with internally and externally mounted precision-guided munitions, returning to the Wasp, and recovering via a vertical landing, a niche capability of the F-35B, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roundtree, the F-35B detachment officer in charge aboard the USS Wasp. This was the first time that this level of training has been performed by an operationally deployed F-35B detachment with the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit. The F-35B conducted its first close air support strike in Afghanistan last September, dropping a GBU-32, Joint Direct Attack Munition, JDAM, weapon fitted on an external weapon pod of the fighter. The F-35B took off from the Wasp-class amphibious assault ship USS Essex cruising in the Arabian Sea. Notably, the unit price for the F-35B recently went down. According to Lockheed Martin, Japan is expected to procure dozens of F-35Bs in the coming years. The USS Wasp is the size of a small aircraft carrier and can carry around 31 military aircraft including the Avenue 8B Harrier-RIS, MH-60S Nighthawk helicopters, AH-1Z Viper helicopters, and MV-22 Osprey tiltrotor aircraft. In 2017, the Wasp was retrofitted to be able to accommodate 6 F-35Bs. The amphibious assault ship and its escort and support vessels conducted a cooperative deployment with the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force Amphibious Transport JS Kunizaki in the East China Sea in January. The exercise was meant to test the ability of both ships to maneuver and communicate with one another. The USS Wasp Expeditionary Strike Group, ESG, arrived at the naval port of Sasebo, Japan, in January 2018, replacing its sister ship USS Bonhomme Richard as the biggest forward-deployed amphibious assault ship in the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet, the lead ship of the U.S. Navy's newest class of amphibious assault ships, the 45,000-ton USS America, designated Landing Helicopter Assault, LHA-6, will deploy to Japan by May 2019 to replace the USS Wasp. The USS America can reportedly carry up to 9 F-35Bs,